Hi everyone, thanks for joining us on the Ascension Sessions. I'm here today with Billy Carson live at the Conscious Life Expo. And today we're going to be talking about ascension, quantum energy, trips to Egypt, and all sorts of interesting things. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Billy, for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Glad to be here.
It's great that we could finally get together.
Yes, yeah, I know. Just passing through social media and but finally getting to sit here and talk to you and go over some great topics. It's exciting.
Yeah, thank you. So I was wondering if you could tell our audience just a little bit about your background.
Yeah.
You know, I love your story of where you grew up and kind of your first experience that kind of led you onto your path.
Yeah. Well, I was born in New York, and we were living in Queens, pretty nice area, Cambria Heights, Queens, in my grandmother's attic, basically, which was like converted into a little apartment. And then, for whatever reason, one day my parents decided that they wanted to move and get away and start fresh. So we moved to Miami, Florida, and we moved to an area called Opa-locka. At first I was excited, but Opa-locka is not like Queens. It has its own Wikipedia page, which is not good. There's actually a steel triangle built around the city to keep crime on the inside. So it was a rough area, but we lived close to the Opa-locka airport. And back then, we're talking like 1977, there's only a few channels on TV. So there was no all cartoons all day. You'd have to go outside and play. I would go outside in the backyard and watch airplanes go over. And one day when I was out there, I saw this object, this orb come over, massive, but it cleared the horizon in seconds, not minutes. A plane typically takes, about 4 or 5 minutes to go across the sky from one point to the next to where you can't see it anymore. This literally cleared the horizon in seconds. And even as a small kid, I knew something happened. I knew it was something totally different. The word UFO wasn't in my vocabulary yet. I just knew that what I saw was not an airplane.
And it was an orb, like a light orb or a metallic ship kind of orb?
It looked like it was just a glowing orb. Now, in the shape of an oval, but not a perfectly round disc. After it cleared and went out, it came back and it hovered above me. Now I can estimate like about 250 meters. With my knowledge now, how high up it probably would have been, and then it just shot off the way that it originally came in.
It hovered above you?
Above me, yes.
Wow. For how long?
Probably like maybe 3 or 4 seconds.
Okay.
And then it just took off. And it was just the weirdest thing. It was an oval, a gigantic oval object. Now, fast forward to the future, thinking back and looking like what could make all these type of orbs glow when people say they see these UFOs and they're glowing. Well, if you have technology, advanced technology for propulsion, and it's creating a bubble around a vessel, and it's heating up the atmosphere to a specific degree, then all of a sudden molecules will begin to give off light, photonic energy. So a lot of these orbs that people are seeing, I believe there's probably a physical object behind, underneath it. But that got me into wanting to find out what the heck I just saw. I had no influence from TV, no influence from radio or anything else about UFOs or aliens. I literally went straight to the library at Rainbow Park Elementary the next morning. I got every Encyclopedia Britannica on aerospace.
Wow.
And I started researching from that day, literally. Pulling out books on submarines and supersonic flight with the SST that we used to have. They used to fly from New York to London. Just looking at all the different gull wing, swept wing planes, delta wing planes. Everything I could find, ballistic missiles. I mean, I went into everything and I could not find what I saw, and I knew that I saw something special.
Right.
And that literally started my research right there.
Wow. And do you think that you received a sort of an activation from that orb?
It's possible that, I know one thing, I definitely my curiosity got completely sparked to the point where I became totally obsessed with trying to figure out what it was that I saw and what happened. At that moment, do I think that I got something at that exact moment? To be quite honest with you, I can't really say. But I do feel like that really did intrigue me so much to where it's taken me on this complete path that I've been on now for so many decades.
Right. I would say that's an activation.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Great. And so you've also, you ended up going into physics, right? And so did you go to MIT like right after high school, or did you take some time off and do something else?
Yeah, no, I didn't. Actually, I didn't go to college at all. So MIT just happened very recently.
Okay.
I became a researcher, and in 2010 I had another, I guess you want to call it, close encounter. I was working on a project called Fort Terra Nova, which was featured on the History Channel. It's an underground shelter that I was building. It's a massive shelter. It could save the lives of 360 people in case of a disaster.
Wow. Where were you building this?
In Northwest Georgia at a undisclosed location. It's completed. And so this shelter is, it's a doomsday shelter, so to speak. I just felt like I would like to have something available to start a community underground in case something happened economically or geologically, that people would have somewhere to go. So during this process, though, I had a situation where I came home from a very long day working on it, sitting in my house in Weston, Florida, and all the lights dimmed, and then the whole house turned to this lavender color.
Wow.
And I thought it was my sons who would have been over my left shoulder playing a trick on me. So I looked back over at them, to that area, and they weren't there. And I'm like, guys, what's going on? And when I turned around, 2 gray aliens were right in my face.
Oh my goodness.
And when I say in my face, I'm talking about inches from my face.
Wow.
I was horrified, so I screamed immediately.
Yeah.
But I was yelling, but no sound was coming out of my throat. It was like if it was being muted in some way. The house was full of people. My family was home. At that time, I was actually married, and my wife was in the master bedroom on the first floor, around behind the family room. My boys were back there, and my girls were on the other side of the house, but nobody heard or saw anything. And I was sitting in a chair probably roughly about this high, so they were probably only about 4 feet tall, because they were standing straight up and leaning forward, maybe 4 feet too. I'm 6'4", so. And then within a couple of seconds, whatever they started doing, it wasn't verbal, but my brain was shaking in my skull.
Wow.
And it started hurting bad. And then they literally just stopped, and I can't even call it walking. They kind of dangled away. It was very bizarre. This gait was not a normal walk. It was almost as if they were just kind of bouncing, and it was so strange.
Wow.
They literally walked through the wall, and the lights came back up, the sound came back up, ESPN came back on the TV, and it was over. But what happened was, after that, a couple things. The first thing is that this word was in my brain, worldwide telescope, and it just kept coming over and over and over. It actually was, I'm talking about thousands of times.
Like, was it annoying?
Extremely annoying.
Yeah.
And so I went to, at that time, Google was just getting started. It was excite.com. I went to a search engine, and I typed in worldwide telescope. Up pops a website, worldwidetelescope.org. I go, what the heck? I click on it. It opens up. It's a software at that time. You had to download it. I downloaded it. I installed it. Come to find out, it's all the space probe data from all the major space agencies that our tax dollars have paid for to give us access to all the space data, all the probes, all the rovers that have gone out in our solar system. All the mission data is in there, and including images and pictures from everything from Earth, Moon, Mars, to Titan, the moons of Saturn, and everything else. They're all in there. And the first thing I did was I went to a panorama on Mars and opened it up. It's like I'm in the Mars rover, and I'm looking around, and I see anomalies right away. I start seeing things that don't belong, things that look like structures, things that look like pyramids, things that look like sphinxes. And I started saving these images, and that's how I got into anomaly hunting. So whatever they did got me into that, and then also my thirst for quantum physics at that point exploded. Right. Not to the point where I was a master of it, but I began to understand all of the equations. I began to understand all the concepts very easily, and be able to digest them, and also regurgitate them to people and teach people and show people what it is. So that's how I got into the physics aspect of it. Much later on, that my career had gotten going in documentaries and doing all this research, I decided to take a course in neuroscience at MIT, and I received my Sloan certificate in neuroscience a few months back.
Wow, that's an incredible way to tell that story. Yeah. So again, I have to say that sounds like another activation, and I feel like that's more evidence that you were put on this path for a very specific reason.
I believe so.
Yeah. Wow, what an incredible experience. So when you said your house was full of people, could you see them, or were you kind of alone in a room and they were in other rooms?
Yeah, I was in my family room, which is, the house is very big. It's about 6,000 or so square foot house. So everybody was in their own corners doing their own thing in their rooms. So I couldn't see anybody. Right. But I mean, this story took so long for me to take public, and it was actually the catalyst for my divorce. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back.
Oh,
so
wow.
I gained nothing from this information but heartache, to be honest with you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did you also experience missing time? Like,
in that situation, I didn't experience any missing time, but I had another situation years later where there was some missing time on the highway. I was going to meet somebody. I was going to a trip that was only 8 to 10 minutes long. I ended up about 40 minutes down into Miami on the side of a highway, waking up, and I had no clue, close to the Dolphin Mall, which was recently built maybe about 8 years ago or so.
Right.
Completely lost, completely disoriented, and not even knowing where or how I was.
Wow.
And that was totally bizarre.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm getting full body chills, and that's my sign that these things are very high frequency that are happening to you. They're very valid. So that's
they're
really
real.
not that you need my validation, but it's just my own personal validation. So, I know that you go to Egypt, and I was just wondering how many times you've been to Egypt, and I know that you offer tours to Egypt, and I was wondering if that has happened yet or if that's in the future.
Yeah. I've been to Egypt twice.
Okay.
The most recent time was 2014. I was there for almost a month, and I've been to pretty much every major temple, museum, archaeological dig, grave site, tombs, and of course the pyramids themselves.
Yeah.
Everywhere from Memphis, Egypt, all the way to Saqqara and back, Giza, everywhere. I've been on Nile cruises. I've been to Thebes. I've been everywhere. I mean, it's just amazing. It's an amazing, amazing place. And when you go there and you start experiencing the energy from these ancient sites, it really just resonates. If you're really into this stuff, it starts resonating, and you just start even getting visions of the distant past and what people might have been doing and how they were going about their daily lives and everything.
Yeah. And
so I decided so many people were asking me so many questions about my trips to Egypt. I decided to put together a tour, which is going to be this year. It was May, then I moved it to June, but we're really going to now set it back for May because we have enough people confirmed that can make it happen in May. So it's going to be May of 2019 this year, and 16 people.
Wow.
We're going to go out there, private drivers, armed guard, nice hotels, and I'll be on the tour. I'll be the guide along with an archaeologist, a homegrown Egyptologist as well will be there too.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's going to be great.
We've actually been to Egypt. We went in 2001.
Oh, nice.
Also. So I know the energy that you're talking about. It's a very magical place.
Oh, my God, yeah. Especially the Temple of Dendera. When you go into the underground crypt and all that magnetism is down there.
Right.
And the King's Chamber. I've been inside of the King's Chamber.
That's a very powerful place, too.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah. Well, that sounds amazing. And so you've been to other sacred sites as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the other sacred sites that you've been to?
Oh, yeah. Teotihuacan, Mexico is an amazing place. Avenue of the Dead, the Pyramid of the Sun, Pyramid of the Moon. Getting a chance to see the tunnels that connect these pyramids, this pyramid complex, and the mica that's down there, which is an electric insulator. So it makes you ask the question, what is electric insulation doing in these tunnels?
Right.
Obviously, these tunnels used to have some type of supercharged power energy source going through them. And when you look at Teotihuacan from the sky and look down on it, it looks like a modern day computer circuit.
So is that material not native to there?
The material's not native to there. It comes from hundreds of miles away.
Okay.
It had to be imported there, which would have been a lot of work to do. And then all of a sudden you find mica also in Egypt. So you're going, wait, mica in Egypt, mica in Teotihuacan, two different continents, halfway around the world. And the similarities between the pyramids are incredible because the pyramid in Giza, the pyramid in Teotihuacan is exactly half the size of the one in Giza, the Great Pyramid, and the base is the exact same size as well. I believe they had the same architect because Quetzalcoatl is also Thoth. And in the Emerald Tablets I talk about in my book, Thoth says he built the Great Pyramid in Egypt.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you heard about calcite being in both places and also being a magical gemstone?
Yes, absolutely.
For Ascension?
Yep, absolutely. They were very into these different types of gems and how they interact with the ether of space-time. Even the Egyptian Ankh, you had to be, each one had to be made to a specific frequency for the king or the person that owned it. And it would have to resonate with you. So they would put these specific gems in there based on the person's physiology.
Oh, wow.
and then it would resonate with that person. These were for only the elites, and it would allow them to go into these portals and transfer themselves from one place to another. Without the Ankh and the Jed pillar built into it with those gems, you couldn't travel.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, at what age did like the term ascension come into your awareness?
I would say probably around 2010, end of 2010, going into 2011. Well, I had that experience with the gray aliens. It took me into investigating and researching the anomalies. From there, the door opened up to raising consciousness and awareness on all different types of topics. And that's when I realized ascension was a part of the plan for mankind.
Right.
Going from one level to the next consciously, and being able to understand and see things from another dimension. Even though your body is physically still in the third dimension, but your consciousness can actually ascend to other dimensions within dimensions. And that's when I first really started understanding the term ascension, and actually really started using it in some of my blogs and forums back then.
Right. And so if you had do you have a soundbite ascension definition, or like how would you define it for people?
I would just define ascension as a sentient being's ability to recognize their inner self, recognize where they are mentally and consciously in terms of their understanding of the world around them and the universe, and how they affect themselves and others, and then taking it to another level where their mind now transcends and separates, almost like an astral projection, where their mind is now rising up and then looking back down on themselves. So they're actually like a self-perspective. They're on the inner space now, and they're realizing that there's many levels to reality, many levels to their own selves as well, and also now as well recognizing the connection between all of us, and that we're all energetically connected, and we're still really all one entity.
Wow, that's really, I believe that 100%, and I think that that's a really unique definition that I haven't heard before.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about ascension being kind of like this big thing that's going to happen in the future, and I think more recently people are starting to speak about and say that no, ascension is happening now.
Yes, it's happening
and
now.
It's happening to us on an individual level, and it's about how we carry ourselves and our energy, and how we tap into our higher selves.
It started around 2012.
Right.
2012, if you go back to some of my oldest content, you'll find that I was saying it's not the end of the world. It's about ascension. It's about these cosmic rays that are going to be coming in from the galactic equator, because our solar system, it kind of maneuvers up and down this galactic plane. And around that time, we hit the equator, which we got the biggest stream of cosmic rays. We're still getting them right now, because it takes so many tens of thousands of years to move up and down and meander along this path. And those cosmic rays are altering DNA. It's already been proven that obviously cosmic rays, even if you just take basic radiation from the sun and remove the Earth's magnetic shield, it's going to alter human DNA and cause cancers and everything else. So these cosmic rays, these muons and everything else, they always come in through the body, pass through us, alter DNA. I believe that these rays are altering DNA and actually speeding up the ascension process as we head into this cycle, this Yuga cycle that we're moving through, as we're probably in the Tetra Yuga heading back into the golden age.
Right. And how long do you foresee this completion taking? Like, do you think we'll be done in 2022, or do you think it's like 100 years out?
Well, it takes a very long
before everyone's in 5D.
In human time frames, because we've been limited to our lifespans temporarily right now, we're only living to an average of 75 to 85 years old. It would seem like a long time what I'm going to say, the number I'm going to give you. In geological time scales, it's the blink of an eye.
Right.
But probably over the next 7,000 to 8,000 years before we're really back in the golden age.
Wow.
A lot of people are going to run around and tell you, oh, we're going to have this 5D thing. It's going to happen within just a couple of minutes or a couple of days or a couple of months or a couple of years. Realistically, it's something that's on a scheduled cycle. And right now we're moving towards that golden age again, with the, into the silver and up into the golden. But it takes a very long time to reach the pinnacle of that era. We're like the pioneers right now, helping usher mankind into that era.
Right.
And it will be remembered as such. But within the next 300 to 500 years, people will begin to live 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years because of stem cells and because of all the other, 3D printing of organs and everything else. Consciousness is going to be elevated much higher.
Right.
But it's not something I personally believe that's going to happen just like, 2025 is the age of Aquarius officially starting. Everybody's going to ascend at that day. I don't believe it happens like that. I believe it's just a gradual process, which we're already in since 2012, moving towards this goal of going into this golden age again.
Right.
And I believe that it's going to happen. And I believe that the people that are alive now, and if you're healthy enough to and lucky enough to live another 20, 30, or 40 years, you're going to see some amazing changes on this planet. But it's not going to be our pinnacle.
Right.
It's not going
to be the height.
It's not going to be the height, but it's going to be phenomenal. I
Yeah.
mean, we may see in our lifetimes, we may be able to extend our lifespans to 150, 200 years just in our own lifetimes and see some of the amazing changes in consciousness, collapse of capitalistic societies, new economic systems being put in place,
Right.
the power returning to the people, space travel, and maybe even open visitations that are made public and so forth.
Right. And do you believe that during the Atlantean times we were in a golden age and we fell out of that golden age?
No doubt about it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I talk about in my book.
Sure.
We literally were at like the height of civilization, and then there was a massive flood. This is 36,000 years ago. Thoth writes this in the Emerald Tablets, and the first scene opening up in the Emerald Tablets, the flood waters are starting to recede again,
Right.
and the mountains are coming up out of the waters, and the people that got devastated by this, generations have gone by. They're now cavemen again. They're living in caves, and Thoth calls them barbarians. And his dad Enki, who's also known as Thoth-Me, puts him on a mission to go back with a crew back to the land of Kim. This is long before Egypt even existed, and raise them back to a higher level of civilization. And he goes on this mission to then begin to raise these civilizations out of the mud.
Wow. Wow. So this, I wonder like how many times we've been in humans have lived on Earth in a golden age.
Well, the Mayans say that we've gone through 4 worlds and we're heading to the 5th.
But do you think we were living like kings and in 5D energy and living 2,000 years each of those 4 times?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, for sure, no doubt about it. Thoth talks about having the capability of transferring his consciousness into new bodies, creating avatar bodies, putting him into the halls of Amenti in these rejuvenation chambers.
Yeah.
And he went into one 100 times for 100 years each time. So he spent 100,000 years over the course of millennia in these rejuvenation chambers, which they discovered underneath the Great Pyramid now. These chambers that he talked about 36,000 years ago, they found these hundreds of rooms about a mile deep now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the pyramid's supposed to be a great like activation tool, right? Like it's an activator and it's an ascension tool.
It's a multi-dimensional, multifunctional computer, and it has everything from star maps, star charts, portals, production of generation of wireless electricity, so many different aspects. It's capable of doing transcending into multiple dimensions, space travel, and communicating with other planets and stars and other solar systems outside of our solar system.
And do you think that the Egyptian government is aware of that and they're just like keeping it shut down, or do you think it's being used by anyone?
They're well aware of the situation. They're well aware of the technology that the pyramid is capable of doing and what it was used for in the ancient past, to the point where now they've signed a deal with NASA. NASA has taken control of the access to the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid.
Oh, wow.
And soon people won't be able to go inside anymore.
That's sad.
So when NASA takes over the Great Pyramid, they know what's going on.
Right. And they're going to start using it.
Yes.
Again.
Probably.
Wow.
Or replicating it through scans.
Really quickly, I want to say that I love how you are constantly putting out positive messaging every day on social media.
Thank you.
And I think that's so important. And I try to do that as well. And, I know people have thanked me. I'm sure people thank you constantly because you're really good at it and you're really prolific with it. And I want to talk about, quantum energy and how the power of our thoughts, the power of our words, the power of our intention is so strong, and how quantum energy is not just a scientific topic that you read about in books. It's something that's constantly happening at moment to moment in our daily lives, and how we can affect change within our daily lives with each other and envision and create a positive future that we want for ourselves just by thoughts and words. So can you speak on that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. I think people don't realize how powerful we truly are in this realm. And that's partially because we've been stripped down, we've been suppressed and oppressed and everything else, and all the knowledge and wisdom that we should feel within ourselves has kind of been, we think it's been stripped away and hidden from us, but it truly is still there. On a quantum level, the cells in our brain literally flicker in and out of existence from the 3rd dimension. This is scientific, peer-reviewed, real information. So where are they going? They're going into other dimensions. Your brain cells are literally flickering in and out of existence at certain times. Your neuronic activity, you're reaching quantum realms. You're syncing with other dimensions, other multiverses, other versions of yourself even at times. That's what they call quantum walking. And there's so much power that we have within this third dimension where you can actually quantum entangle with the universe. And what people don't realize, if you ever see a vision of or a picture of Einstein's theory of relativity and some of his theories on gravity, you'll see a planet and you'll see space warped around the planet, because mass warps space. Just like we're sitting here now, space is warped around our bodies right now because we're creating our own gravitational fields. Well, when you think about consciousness, consciousness has the capability of warping space-time as well. So if you take out the planet from the image of Einstein's theory of gravity and put in your consciousness in that spot, and imagine now space is warped around you.
Right.
Now, what happens when warped space? Things fall towards the mass. Okay, so that's where you get falling objects. So now, as you're quantum entangling with the universal consciousness, you have to be on a high frequency, because the universe only understands high frequencies.
Right.
So if you're a person that's looking for change in your life, looking for a situation to develop, looking for a goal to manifest, but you're begging and pleading for it, oh, please let this happen, oh, please I want to get this, or please help me with this, or I'm sick and please help me, heal me, that doesn't work. The universe doesn't even hear you. It doesn't even exist in the universe. The frequency is too low. Begging is a sign of weakness, and that frequency is a very low frequency. But when you come in with power, I command that my path to my destination be blessed and that I make it there safely. I command that this particular endeavor that I'm going on manifests and works out to my favor. That's a different mindset.
Right.
This is what they use in Tibet, the monks used to heal people. The mindset that it is already done.
Right.
So when you go in thinking that it's already done, now you've quantum entangled with the universal consciousness.
Sure.
You've created a deep gravity well around your consciousness, and everything that you're talking about yet you need is now falling directly toward you. And that's how the law of attraction works, through quantum entanglement. So you're in this quantum field now, and you're syncing with everything, and everything just seems like it's falling into your lap because you're making conscious intent, you're creating that well, and now you're putting action behind it, and everything is falling towards you. But a high frequency is required for that. And that's where a lot of people fall short. They go up and praying, I've been begging and everything else. Yeah, those prayers, they're going nowhere. All those begging, it's going nowhere. You have to operate on a high frequency.
Right. And you create your own timelines, your future timelines, with that power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You literally alter your future realities through those thoughts and those actions.
And what's so cool about it is that as soon as you have those thoughts, you start attracting them. And then when you put word, it kind of more solidifies it into your future timeline.
That's one of the big things I try to tell people, is to vocalize what they're wanting. I tell people, go in a room, even if you got to close the door in a closet, and start saying it out loud if you don't want to look stupid in front of people. Because when you vocalize it, the sound of it coming up out of your throat, no matter what language you're talking, because the conscious intention is behind the vocalization, it directly affects the space-time, and it directly allows an interaction with that quantum entanglement with the universal consciousness, and it actually allows those things to start to manifest. But you have to also realize and recognize when these manifestations or these opportunities for you to allow them to manifest arise. So that's where you get your intuition has to play a part as well.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, that's so fascinating and beautiful. And I wish that was taught in elementary school.
Yes.
Could you imagine what a different world we would live in? If,
it would be amazing.
Yeah, if kids were taught that.
This would be a magical society.
Totally. We'd be like almost there.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you so much for coming on the show today,
Thank
Billy
you.
Carson. It was awesome to have you. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, it was great.
And I hope we can do more. We also do interviews online. So maybe in the future, we'd love to have you on the show again.
Yes, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And where can people learn more about your books and your work, Forbidden knowledge.com?
Yes, forbiddenknowledge.com with the number 4. So forbiddenknowledge.com with the number 4. On Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and of course the website. And my book is available on the website, forbiddenknowledge.com. Okay,
awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'll put the links to all of Billy's work in the description on the YouTube channel and in Facebook, of course. And we really enjoyed having him on the show today. And so make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel and hit the bell for notifications for more. And let Billy let him know how you liked this interview today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.